The world's greatest geologist is on the verge of his next billion-dollar discovery. With looming shortages in copper, zinc, gold, and silver, this may be the best opportunity hard asset investors have ever faced. Learn more at futuremoneytrends.com/hardassets.
Illegal and legal immigrants here that still believe that crap, they'll vote for him. I think he will get the nomination. So that's kind of my 2016 analysis.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Well, and the last thing that I do want to talk about and I just get your thoughts on is your advice for a young person living in America today. Obviously, I don't think we have a society where you can go get a job as a postman, have 2 cars, go on a vacation, purchase a house, and live on one income and retire when you're 65. So I would want to just ask you, what would be your advice for an 18-year-old thinking about going to college or going into a trade or starting a business? What would be your general advice to that person?
My advice is minimalism. That's the one thing under your control. I would say focus on minimalism. Learn the very, very important fact. This is not opinion. This is not touchy kumbaya. This is a fact. Learn the most important thing in life is other people. And once you learn that friends are more entertaining than an Xbox 360. You learn hanging out with a loving family is more important and more entertaining than driving a Ferrari around. And once you figure out that family and friends and loved ones are the most important thing in life, that's where you're going to derive 95% of your happiness. Your demand for pointless stuff goes away. And so all you really need is a futon. You need maybe 2 backpacks worth of clothes. Certainly, have a TV, have a laptop. I'm not saying, just go live in a cave. But you don't need that fancy car. You don't need that Armani suit. You don't need Omega watches. And then once you realize you could get by that cheaply, that makes it infinitely easier to live and survive in this world. Don't go into debt. Don't borrow money for a car you can't afford. Don't borrow money for a house you don't need, just so your trophy wife can, oh, look, we live in Edina or whatever the, hoity-toity, ritzy, fancy schmancy suburbanite area in your town is. And for the love of God, do not go into debt for a stupid, worthless liberal arts degree. I got a book called Worthless, and it is my most popular book precisely because of that. Do not major in a stupid subject. If you're being asked to drop 75 grand in 4 years of your life on a degree, don't come to me and other people say, it isn't about the money. It darn well better be. And so you better major in accounting or STEM or engineering or something, because that's what's going to make your life infinitely easier.
Well, there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, and going back to what you said about friends and family, if you learn, number one, to even be able to coexist and have friends, have family, and to make other people feel better about themselves, and basically just to learn to be a likable person, that's a valuable skill in itself to help you make money, to be a good business person, to be a good employee, to go up the chain of commands, and to network in your life. And I actually, I agree with all you said right there. I mean, just being able to enjoy the simple things, because, there's days where I have, a smile for my son, and I just think about it like, oh, how did that make me feel right now? Did that make me feel happier than being on the top of the Empire State Building, feeling like $1 million? Or, it's like both moments felt equally happy to me. So, learning to just soak in the little things in life, I really think is a great bit of advice. And then kind of jumping over into the college thing, man, it's so ridiculous seeing college prices go up. It's doubling the pace of income. Over the last 40 years, income's gone up maybe, 2%, year over year. And then college is going up 5-6% a year. And the problem is you're being told by teachers and just everyone, all you need to do is go to college, get a degree, and that will solve your problems. That's what successful people do. And kids don't have the right mentors in their life to say, hey, that's not a financially wise decision. And usually these people are, teachers that they respect, saying, yeah, go, we're going to get you into a cheap loan. You're going to get some grants. You're going to get subsidized loans. And then they graduate, of course, and have this mortgage of debt. I know a couple people who have $500,000 worth of student debt, people that I'm close to. And I'm just like, wow, like that's more than I want to be on a house. Yeah. And how do you start your life like that? And
you don't. You suffer.
Yeah, but the problem is the previous generation did good with college degrees. It worked out for the previous generation. The 401k plan worked out for the previous generation. And I really think that the 20-year-olds, the early 30-year-olds now, they're having a much different experience than the previous generation did. And it's going to take a generation to go through with this and see that it doesn't work for other generations to learn that it's a failed system and for it to be overhauled.
Yeah, I wish that was the case. You do see a little bit of the smarter kids stepping back, like employment application for law schools, I think, is down 20%, so that's good. If you go, there's a guy who's on Twitter, Law School Lemmings. He keeps a really good finger on the pulse of the law schools, and law applications are down. Some of the other schools are down, and in regards to these kids having a lack of leadership, I was saying before about how teachers, they themselves, look at your high school guidance counselor. He or she didn't know what they were talking about. They, if I do whatever, kumbaya. Smoke some funny plants that grow out of the ground. We're all lovey-dovey. But then also there's a huge incentive, especially on the part of educators, not necessarily K through 12, but definitely your professors and college administrators, to lie to you to get you to spend whatever money, these hundreds of thousands of dollars, on these degrees that keep them employed, only because that's their only source of employment, is to reteach this garbage that they learned when they were younger and in their 20s. So it's definitely, and as you said, they're going to graduate with this crippling debt. But at least with a house, at least with a mortgage, you got a house. You have rental potential, cash flow there. With a lot of these degrees, you don't even sometimes have a nice piece of paper. You have something that I could print off on my laser printer here and put it in a $2 frame, and that's literally the only asset you have.
Yeah, and I don't think you're against education, though, right? I mean, in terms of what the government obviously providing in a lot of senses is, and then obviously the conventional wisdom just to go out and get any degree, but education for people is important. Learning how to do something and provide some value for the real world is important, but this government system that we have is definitely in a bubble. And I'm wondering, do you think we're getting to the point where the government's just going to completely fund college tuitions?
By force, maybe, because these kids aren't going to be able to pay back their $1 trillion in student loans. So I think you'll see something similar to the bankers getting bailed out, or the people who brought the borrowed money for the mortgages in the housing bubble. But I don't think, I hate to say it, I think the government likes it the way it is, because if the government were to fund it fully, and I'm not talking indirectly through a bailout, I think that would actually be cheaper, because the system they got right now, they get government money and they get private sector money and they get scholarships and they get grants. You have so many sources of money flooding the education market. There is nobody in that field that's going to say, well, we should just limit it to government. And then all of a sudden the private money goes away, the scholarships go away. For once, I think an all government system would actually be cheaper and more efficient than the horrendously overbloated system we got now. It's almost like insurance.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in a college bubble. A lot of supply of money and just no demand for it. So they're definitely dealing with a big issue. Now, I deal with a lot of sensitivity, especially sensitive parents, when I talk about college and the way it is, because parents, even in my generation, our generation, they look at college as what you should do or what they should have done. And a lot of them are uneducated with the fact that college is getting uncontrollably expensive. And the problem is they want to see their kids get the education. They want to be able to say that their kids went and got a master's degree. And they don't want to be in this, out of the box person that says, okay, well, we're going to do something different. And I've dealt with some sensitive parents who are opposed to alternative types of education. And honestly, I really think that we're getting to a point where the internet will solve this issue of this college bubble. I really think people are going to go towards the internet for free education and learn things there, and it will become a societal norm. But it'll take time to get there because there's so many people who are conditioned to think that college is the way. And when that bubble bursts, I think that's when a lot more people will come around. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the one variable that needs to change is accreditation and acceptance in the labor market. And right now, you can go to Khan's Academy, you can go to YouTube, and I've learned more on YouTube and the internet than I did ever. I mean, like 10 times the amount I've learned self-instructing, self-teaching on the internet, reading books, than I did in my college degree. However, all that education, which does inevitably translate into higher skills, and added income, extra savings, like I can fix my own motorcycle because I watched it on YouTube. I don't need to pay a mechanic anymore to do that. Unfortunately, for an online self-taught education to actually debunk or dethrone a college education, is you need it to be accredited, and you need employers to recognize that and hire based off of it. So I think the point in time is coming. It may not be debate today, it may not be tomorrow, and the college industry is going to stammer its little feet and pout. But the day is coming, I believe, where the various degrees are going to be very much like the IT industry, where you have your CCNA certification, your CompTIA certification, your Microsoft Certified Engineer, Software Engineer certification. So I think the industries down the road are going to come up with these certifications where you don't need to get a degree in accounting. You need to get a certification in accounting, and you got to pass this test, kind of like a low-level CPA. You want to do accounts payable, you got to pass the accounts payable test and get certified. And I think once businesses and employers wake up and realize that they can hire people cheaply, much more cheaply, who aren't saddled with $100,000 in debt, but simply self-taught on the internet, got their certification in whatever, human resources, supply chain management, inventory accounting, whatever, and because they don't have that debt, they can afford a lower pay. I think you're going to see employers down the road start to appreciate, give cachet and currency to those accreditations, and then maybe even gasp, horrors of horrors, bring back a training program from the 1950s where you actually train your employees in. You don't just say hit the ground running.
Yeah. I think the testing, I think that's really where it'll go. When you said that, it made a lot of sense to me, because that's really where they'll be able to know, or even an intern. I mean, just if somebody says, hey, I'll work for you for a month for free to show you what I know, or to show you the potential of what I know. I think a lot of these companies could start doing that, and they don't have a whole lot to lose, because I do think things are changing, and I hope the government system implodes, because I'm tired of seeing people get sucked in to these horrible loans, these horrible debt situations, graduating miserable for 10 years and just accepting that this is the way it is. So, but Aaron, I think we had an excellent conversation, and I want to thank you for coming on and talking with me today. If people want to learn more about you and get more information on what you do, where would they go and what would they find?
Well, they're going to find a lot. My flagship product is Captain Capitalism. That's my blog. So you go to captaincapitalism.com. On the top left, you'll see all the various cookie jars I have my hands in. I have my consulting division called Asshole Consulting. That's where we give blunt, direct truth and advice that would go to those sensitive parents you aforementioned, among other people. I have my YouTube channel. You could just search Aaron Clarey. You'll find it there. I have my podcast called the Clarey Podcast. What else do we? There's a lot of things. There's the Twitter. I don't know what it does, but you can follow me on Twitter and say hello. And then I have 2 online classes. One is called the Analysis and Valuation of Stocks. The other one is called Stocks, Bonds, Investing, Oh My. And then, my books. If you want, just go to Amazon.com and search Aaron Clarey. You'll see I have several books. The 4 main ones is Worthless, The Young Person's Indispensable Guide to Choosing the Right Major. Bachelor Pad Economics, that's the financial advice Bible for men. Enjoy the Decline, it's kind of more of a political, philosophical book about the future of the United States. And for any, I have a fair amount, not to go on a tangent, but I have a fair amount of minority readers and subscribers. But I also have, so they were asking for a book, and I put together a book called The Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty. So none of which are politically correct, none of which are nice, but they're all 100% truthful, and they're way better than that master's in sociology degree you're going to get from a government state institution.
Well, that sounds great, Aaron. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Ken.